Hello, everyone. This is Mark McGuire. I'm going to call this meeting of the Block Island Housing Board on January 13th at 4 p.m. to order. Our first agenda item is public input. Does anyone have anything from the public? No, good on that now? Okay. All right. All right. The button on, the green button?
Okay, is the button on now? All right. Benjamin Martin, contractor on Block Island. I've done some projects for the town, and I've been interested in this project for quite a while. I didn't think that I would be in a position to offer any support, but I find myself with some free time. So I saw in the newspaper that you were looking for somebody to manage the project. It wasn't clear to me if the project had been awarded for bid to a contractor or not. It also didn't seem clear to me that the board had selected to do a certain smaller number of houses versus the whole project, and if they had secured funding. But I wanted to offer my services as a manager, someone with a lot of experience doing that. And if it was open to bid, I would also take a swing at that. I also wanted to mention that I've had experience dealing with a few of the players that had been putting bids in on the project. And it's my opinion that some of those people may not be qualified or may be overstretched and not have the ability to manage the project to the level that it deserves. That is all I have to offer today, but I would thank you for your consideration if you do need it. Thank you.
Any questions for Ben?
I just want to mention that you failed to mention that you were the contractor for the two houses on Champlain Road. It is old history, but you did a great job on those.
Well, thank you so much. Yes, I was. And I do have a lot of experience working for corporate companies in California, doing project management, building department head, finance department head. So I'm pretty well versed in different software and all of the comings and goings of managing subcontractors and towns and cities and inspections and stuff like that. So it's within my wheelhouse and I enjoy doing it. So if for whatever reason you were unable to hire somebody for lack of funding, I would consider stepping in as a volunteer to help in some capacity. But I do need to make money to pay the bills. So I may have less time if I'm working and volunteering. So anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ben. Item number 2 is to act and approve on the minutes of the December 9th and December 16th meetings. I'll make a motion to approve both of those meetings.
I'll second that.
Any discussion or questions about the minutes?
I did have one question. And I apologize in advance for not being present at the meeting. And just very quickly, on the December 9th minutes, discuss Massachusetts law regarding special status of islands. Mark, if you could just quickly, I don't want to take a lot of time. You said there's a Massachusetts law that labels Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, and parts of the Cape as seasonal. It allows them to constrain their housing to workers. Could you just elaborate on that? I didn't quite know what that meant.
There is a law in Massachusetts that gives special status to those places so that their affordable housing can be limited to year-round workers on those islands, in those locations. And I raised it just as a point of comparison, so that if we want, we can explore the possibility of getting us labeled the same way. So it was just an idea to talk about and raise and kind of a future consideration if necessary, if it would be helpful. So that's it. Any other comments or questions about the minutes? Okay, all in favor of approving those minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, thanks. Number 3 is review and approve the financial reports. I'll make a motion to approve the financial reports. Any comments on the financial reports?
I just have one comment. It was, I've asked Mona if we can have a meeting with the financial subcommittee, just to, make sure that we're doing this once in a while and checking in. There's no big news coming, I'm sure. But I also asked if we could discuss how the town handles donations. How do we go through that? So Mona is going to try and find time to meet with Mark and me to discuss that sometime in the future. She's extremely busy.
So if you'll recall way back when we, the board, nominated Chris and I, or created a subcommittee, a financial subcommittee for Chris, and the members are myself and Chris. So that's what that's about. We thought we would get an update with Mona. Okay, all in favor of approving those financial reports? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Number 4 is discuss the O'Brien Affordable Housing Development and issues related to development. First bullet under there is discuss and act on an agreement to provide oversight of the O'Brien Affordable Housing Project. And it should say construction oversight. So we have voted in the past to ask Mark Tilson to help us on an hourly basis to provide that oversight. We voted to have an agreement with him. We have spoken with him, and what you have before you are some just essentially key points of an agreement with Mark. He's offered to lower his hourly rate to $60 an hour. And take on the scope that you see in 1 through 6. There are some TBDs in this agreement, particularly the XYZ and ABC. I was hoping to get some people to volunteer to be Mark's point of contact on the board, either 1 or 2 people, so that he does not have to wait until the board meets in order to interact with someone on the board. So if anyone would like to do that, that would be terrific. I also included in here, and by the way, I want to thank Chris. Chris developed this scope of work with some input from Josh, and we really appreciate it. But I think it fits the bill for exactly what we need. I did put a upper level limit of $50,000 or 300 hours, acknowledging that we can reauthorize that anytime we need to. Are there any discussion on this agreement? Anyone have any questions? Would they like to add something to the scope, take away from the scope?
And what would be the role of XYZ and ABC?
So their role would be to take input or answer questions from Mark about any of this work, any of this scope. So if he has a question on what he should be doing, he can ask XYZ or ABC. Or if he has a concern, XYZ or ABC can ask for an emergency board meeting to address the concern. So that's essentially what those people would be doing. Anyone want to take on those roles? Okay. I can be another. I just would like some backup. So Chris, if you and I want to do that, that would be great. Anybody else?
I don't have the skills. I don't.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure I do either, but you know. Okay, all right, so we have, we'll put three people down there to be the points of contact for Mark. But Mark will also come in at each board meeting to give us an update. So any other comments or questions or additions or subtractions to that agreement? Okay, yep, thank you. Okay, I'm going to make a motion to approve this service agreement. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. So we're going to have an initial meeting with Mark tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And it has to do with the next bullet. So I won't, well, yeah, I'll say unfortunately, we have not finished our evaluation of the bids. I would like to note that Jerry Noonan has stepped up to volunteer for the subcommittee. So it's Jerry, myself, and Josh who are evaluating the bids. We hope to have a presentation for the board today, but it's not quite ready. We have what we think have narrowed the field a bit, but we do have some remaining due diligence, and we would like to get Mark Tilson's input. So we hope to have a final recommendation for the board in the very near future. The three of us, have discussed sort of a non-scheduled / emergency meeting next week. Unfortunately, I couldn't make my schedule work, but we talked about it maybe on January 21st at 4 p.m., January 21st or 22nd at 4 p.m. I'll ask, is anyone available then? Because I don't need to be there. I think Jerry and Josh can sort of brief what the subcommittee has done. So
That's,
you're off island, okay?
let me just check. That's the 21st or the
21st or 22nd.
21st is a Wednesday. I'm here.
I have a council meeting at 2 and at 6, so
On which days?
on Wednesday, the 21st.
Okay, so the 22nd might be better.
Second would be better.
20.
Chris? Okay. All right, let's
Second's okay for me.
schedule it January 22nd at 4 p.m. If something happens where four of us can't be here, so Shannon, you said you won't be here. Yeah, so Rosemary may be here. I don't know. So I'll send her a note. But let's tentatively schedule that for January 22nd.
Yeah. Do you think we could do it a little earlier? I'm just throwing it out there.
Again, I won't be part of it, but it's up.
Does that have an effect like on those?
Chris has got 2 p.m. With the doctor.
Yeah. And
I'm
Jo-
flexible.
Josh, are you flexible or no? Yeah, I understand. Okay. Four is fine. I'll either be here or I won't.
I'll ask the others. Jerry, are you available? Okay. So that's a question I have for so I know I can't be there virtually.
Right. But Jerry,
Jerry can, and he can
as
participate.
long as he's not a member.
Right. Okay. So that's great. So Jerry will be virtual. The rest of us will. And I think, go ahead.
Just so I'm clear, the bids that are on the table are the ones that we received back in October 29. the
Yes.
access.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Four.
Yeah.
There are four
So
bids,
there's
yes,
no change from that. Those are the ones that we're
correct.
focusing on.
Yeah, we can't, unfortunately, we can't accept any more bids without rejecting all of them and starting the process over.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure I had all the data.
Um, okay, so we'll do that on January 22nd at 4 PM. That will be a recommendation from the subcommittee to the board on the award, on what we think, who, the bidder we think should get the award. If the board cannot come to an agreement at that meeting, we'll have to schedule it for the next meeting. But we hope that it will come, that we have done enough due diligence to have you choose someone, to have us choose someone. Okay.
Are we planning to meet, I have to look at my monthly. Are we planning to meet?
No.
Okay, thank you.
The regular January meeting is not happening this month. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah.
Send the calendar out, like.
Yeah, yeah.
The 27th is not.
Sometimes my email randomly puts something in junk that's from a person like Millie, you sent me something and ended up in junk, even though most of the time your email comes to my inbox. So I don't know. It's. Yeah. Okay, so any other comments on that, on the bid evaluation? Any questions? We don't want to talk about too much yet because there's a somewhat, formal process we have to follow to make a recommendation. So, okay, Cindy.
Yeah, I just had a question if we're moving on. Again, apologies for missing the last two meetings because it seems like an awful lot happened. I had a phone call today. I guess, phase two, could the subcommittee just explain what's happening with phase two with Bain and where we're going with that? The electrical lines and the sewer and water lines are going to be brought in to a certain point. And I'm wondering if we are on our plans, original plans, do we have enough electrical data where the transformers are? Seems to me we did have that all on the plan, but the concern that was raised to me was the power company was surprised that we were making this move and at this juncture. And did we have all the data that we needed in order to move forward? I don't really know what I'm talking about here. So if you have a little bit of background to make sure that typically, in a perfect world, you would put the foundations in first and then run your lines in. We originally did phase one where we were bringing the lines in to a certain point in order to get that grant stipulation taken care of. So now could you guys just outline phase two?
So this is not a subcommittee issue.
It is. Okay.
No, this is a board issue. So the board laid out 3 phases for the infrastructure work. The phase one was the connection from the town to the edge of the property, maybe
Yeah.
10 to 20 feet. That is mostly completed except for the final paving of West Side Road. Phase two was bringing all of those lines all the way through the property, installing 2 manholes and a fire hydrant all the way to the end of the property. And that's why the clearing happened right next to East Rose Ball. So all of those,
Well, I've been to the property, the building sites are staked.
some of them are staked,
The-
yes, the 4, yeah.
The 4 are,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's phase two. Phase three was going to be, and phase two included creating laterals for those, on those 3 lines to the edge of what will be the road.
Okay.
The road won't be paved, and then phase three, maybe phase 3A and 3B, depending on how we approach the 8 buildings, if we do it 4 and 4 or what. Phase 3 will be the foundations and all the other underground infrastructure work. That's how we laid it out. Now, I was not aware there was a different perfect approach. So should we discuss that here?
I think the question was from the power company perspective, do we have the electrical plans?
Why is not the power company talking to us about that? You know, they quoted the transformer. And so they knew that that's going to be a function of the load within there. So I think if they have those questions, they should come to us. So we're not guessing at what's going on here.
So let me ask, so I'll say two things. Our infrastructure contractor has not raised this issue, so I don't know how important it is because I have no idea. Josh, do you have a view on this?
So just wanting to make sure that we have whatever the power company needs to feel comfortable with the way the lines are being laid.
Well, I don't think we've ever done a load calculation for these buildings. Typically something the electrical contractor would do. But I think in the RFP, we had discussed 200 amp service per unit. Correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's typical. That's especially with all the electrical technologies that are being considered. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 200 amp would be, or 150, but in any case, the cost, 150, 200 is like, $100. So might as well go with 200.
I thought we had stipulated 200, but
I think we did, yeah.
To your point, Chris, didn't the power company know this?
Yeah. Well, I thought they did because they quoted the transformer.
Right.
They would have to have the load I'm sorry, they probably didn't have load calculations,
But
but
would
they
know
never
it's
do.
this. Yeah.
For these type of houses, it's pretty typical. I mean, I can see the one that's up by the Hodge that is a little different. But these are not, these are your standard.
But is this an issue of the order we're doing it or the specs for the electrical service?
the call that I received today, I think, was the specs for the electrical service. So Bain had spoken to the power company and someone from the power company had called Tom Rissom. And Tom called me and I really don't know the answer. So just to make sure that our plans are sufficient for the next step. Now, if we're gonna only be running electrical lines to the property, but if he's opening up a trench, Josh, I don't know, is it more prudent to have the foundations in first and then run your lines? Because we're gonna have a lot of heavy equipment moving in and out of there. Or does it matter?
No, it doesn't particularly matter. He's really, what he's doing is putting in conduit right now. I think what he's doing makes sense to kind of move things along. It does raise a good question about kind of the gray area, the bids we've been getting have, the electrical quotes and the bids have been basically from the service panel through the unit. So we don't really have anything, I think, nailed down for the actual electrical services. So, we've got to come off this transformer and we've got to supply services to every single building. And I don't think we have anybody.
I think that's part of well, that's a good question. I don't know.
And are the positions and the placement of the transformers on our plan?
I think it's going to be one transformer.
Just one
I
transformer?
think that's what they quoted one.
I thought it was
Pretty
on the
sure.
plan.
Yeah, normally they would, I think it would be a ground mounted for this situation. 16 units. I don't know.
Yeah, I believe it's our responsibility, not only do we have to supply the foundations for the company to come, they take it from the foundation up. But we also have to supply power, water, and sewer to each unit. And so primarily the power is going to be the issue. I don't think we've ever discussed that as far as, do we need to hire our own electrical contractor to supply these services to the building? Because all these bids take it from the panel up.
I recall in the draft documents that the service was specified and an extra panel was specified. I, asked for that for the solar system. Conduit from the roof down as part of the contractor's responsibility for the solar circuits. And that's about all I can tell you. And also that we wanted to meet, each building have the meter on the building. So the solar projects can provide the most benefit at the least cost to the occupants.
So, so you don't recall whether we asked GM2 to design that in?
I don't recall that. And Millie, do you recall that we did have some 11th hour machinations with Cherry Hill on the electrical? Yeah, and it had to do with the power, our interface with the power company.
But I don't have any of
I
the
can't,
details.
I
So
don't- it's a
no.
bit above my pay grade, but I do remember we had some 11th hour, we had not coordinated with the power company on some level, and there was some drawings or engineering that had to be done. So
Do you know who the power company person was that talked? So do you know who the power company person was? Was it Tom?
Tom.
Tom
Jordan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we can ask him to send something specific as to what the concerns are, so it's not.
They already, have the answer satisfactorily for the power company.
Okay.
I just didn't want us to be
Just
unprepared for how the electrical service was
Yeah.
being connected.
Yeah, I still think we may want to kind of review our notes on that one because to my recollection, we don't have anything established right now to go from the transformer to panels in every unit. And that typically would fall, the power company would supply the primary service to the transformer, and then it's our responsibility to take it from there.
Well, I think
the conduit for that has been specified,
Correct.
but not the conductors.
Correct.
and I think that's the power company, I think, is concerned about getting to that transformer, that initial run.
Mhm.
And then, as you say, their job is to go to the transformer. Our contractors are the ones that would have to take it from the transformer to the individual houses.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
and that falls
and that-
outside of Bain's
Right.
wheelhouse.
Outside of,
Because his responsibility is just the conduit.
Right.
So he's providing the conduit for us. And we,
okay, so then maybe it sounds like the power company is perhaps one step ahead of us, saying what happens next.
Mhm.
We haven't outlined that.
yeah.
Well, it bears a conversation with somebody who
Did
knows more than I do.
Did GM2 put a transformer location in?
That's
I don't
usually
see it
by
on there.
that's usually by mutual agreement with the power company.
Maybe that's what hasn't been.
They have flexibility on that.
Okay,
So is it okay just to ask Tom Jordan to either send an email or to say specifically what's,
Maybe we should check in with Bain first.
okay,
And then, because Tom may have had a conversation with Bain that we're not aware of.
Yep.
And just make sure, that
Yeah.
there isn't a problem. Let's not solve a problem if it doesn't exist, but if there is an issue that we need to address, then let's figure it out.
okay, but the bottom line is, on the other issue of the order of things, it's okay to proceed as we're proceeding with the conduit lines
Mhm.
before the foundations.
And my guess is that we, unbeknownst to us, Bain and Tom have probably already spotted a transformer location.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
For muddling the waters.
No, it's good to raise necessary questions. That's terrific. Okay. Back to the agenda. Okay. the third bullet under there is discussion of solar electric system recommended for O'Brien Housing and reasons why. So Chris, you asked this be put on. Could you help us on this one?
Yeah, I thought it was important to keep the board, up to date on this because I think well, I'm prejudiced, but it's important to me that, and I think to the owners, people who are living in those units to have these systems, and we have a grant for that. So I have been working on pretty sophisticated solar electric system that I think is a really good template for these. And I just wanted to let you know it has high capacity batteries. So for backup, it also has something called a microgrid interconnection device, which is a brain, basically, if you want to think of it. So if we are going with electric technology, it has the ability to shut down non-critical loads in an emergency situation. To take all this when it's not integrated in a package like it is now would be far more clumsy and expensive. So we have a really nice looking system package from a company down in Texas. And I was getting inspected again tomorrow by the building department. And, if everything goes well, then I would definitely recommend that this is the template for those buildings. It would be 16 of them. Each building has, each residence has to have its own system by code. So anyway, I just want to let you know that I'm very impressed with the system. First one for me to do it. And I just wanted you to know that that's been going forward. And I think we do have a template. That's all. I just want to let you know.
So I have two follow-ups on that. So one is, when do we need to procure a contract for those services?
I don't know, because we're saying in our documents, they just have to put in a conduit from the roof down to the basement, basically. Once that's done, you can do that whenever you want.
Okay. Second is, when the time comes, we'll probably want a briefing to the board on what the system is and whatnot.
Yeah, I brought it here by mistake,
Yeah.
but I don't expect, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna inundate you with this. Yeah, there's I'll have pictures and just a brief spec sheet from the manufacturer, just so you can see what it looks like. But it's very impressive. The electrician that was helping me on this system, Jim Spalding, Rocky, was pretty excited about it.
Chris, can you speak to the cost of effectiveness of what would the upcharge be? Because we're obviously constrained budgetarily. So how expensive will it be, do you think? And cost of future maintenance, because whether we rent or whether we sell these buildings, Block Island has its ups and downs when it comes to maintenance of systems. So can you speak to those issues?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll approach the maintenance one first. And this is the repercussions of, I'll have to say, not very forward-thinking energy policy on the island. Maintenance, people that do this maintenance, we have basically wiped the market out for people to want to do that here. And so hopefully to use this as a mechanism for training people on maintenance as part of the project is something that we actually were going to do that with one of the grants that we applied for. So specifically, what do these need as maintenance? Generally, nothing unless there's something that fails. Okay. And it's not like you have to go and, add water to something or, I don't know, clean the solar panels or anything like that. Nothing regular. It's when there's a failure. And how do you know that? Well, these systems all have really sophisticated data acquisition systems, and you'll be told when you have a failure. However, who does that work? I don't know, but it's the same thing with any of the other appliances in these buildings. The record of this technology is good so far. So, you know, I haven't heard of any high instance of any type of failure with it. And I'm on a listserv of solar installers, and if there was, believe me, you would know about it immediately. So that's encouraging. As far as the cost for this, the system I put in is larger than what I would definitely recommend for these buildings. So I have to go back now and recalculate in downsizing everything. The modules will be downsized, the number of modules, most likely. The inverter will be much smaller, the microgrid device and the battery storage, all smaller. So yeah, I'm just gonna throw out a number, and please don't hold me to it, but I'm gonna just say, like, it's gonna be a $30,000 system per residence.
Including the solar panels and,
The solar panels are really becoming very inexpensive.
Yeah.
So they're not the high cost.
and space constraints for the batteries and stuff like that. What do you think?
It would fit within this corner. This corner, about that high. So I would say, you know, if you could dedicate a space like this out about 2 feet.
And is this something that can be phased in? So as you say, if we have that conduit that goes from the roof to the basement, are there any other carpentry changes that need to be done to our plans to, you know,
The best thing you can do is put the emergency panel, the battery backup loads panel next to the main service panel. Because let's say, you know, the solar system doesn't go in right away. You're eventually going to want to move circuits over to the emergency loads panel. And when they're physically close to each other, it's very easy just to take them and drop them over. So that's, you know, I would say that's a requirement. And we just want our meter socket to be able to accept 2 meters. That is,
so it doesn't sound like there's a lot of carpentry retrofitting that needs to be done.
no, everything
It's
that's
just
wired
having
is down to the
wires
basement.
in the right spot.
It's all in the basement, so you just move stuff over. You don't have to add, there's no like tearing through, you know, beams or rafters, anything like that, or joists. You don't have to do any of that.
So the plans that we have circulating, or had circulating, would accommodate this
I believe so. yeah.
without major changes or retrofitting or more expense. The expense is in this, the storage units and the,
Yeah, I don't see the labor of retrofitting to be anything other than moving circuits from 2 almost contiguous service panels. Just
and it could be phased. So in other words, we could,
right.
if we didn't have the finances.
Exactly. You don't, once you put the system in, then you would move the circuits over. Because if you do it before, there'll be no power to that circuits unless you put a temporary in there. So, you know, that's actually not a bad idea. I think, but that's too complicated to understand. Anyway, to answer your question, yeah, it could be phased in.
Anything else on that?
No, I just wanted to let you know about it. I thought it was pretty cool.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Chris, you're still up. Number 5, update on the NREL microgrid grant.
I just wanted to also update you on that. And when I put that in as a agenda request, I had no idea what I would be saying to you tonight. Now, as of I've learned 2 days ago, there's something going on, I have to say, and I told NREL that I would be, you know, saying this. There is either somebody or some buddies in this community that have somehow contacted NREL about this. And-
Who's,
National Renewable Energy Lab. And I went back to the administrator and I said, who? And he goes, I'm trying to get information on this. I don't know. I go, you don't know. So I'm not going to go on a long story, but this is, I've never heard this before. We are the grantee, and for anybody else to come in and not talk to us about their concerns after going through all the approval process is very strange. So something's happened. I don't know what. Right now, they want to have a meeting at some time in the near future. And when I get more information from the administrator of this grant, I will let you know. Right now, that person sounds as blind as I am on this. So I don't know what's going on. But I had no idea I'd be telling you that tonight until 2 days ago. Very strange.
Somebody was talking smack.
I don't know.
It sounds like it.
But how can you as an administrator not, I mean, you can't, I've never seen this happen. I've been doing this kind of work in different ways for over 30 years. Usually anyone that does that gets shut down right away and the grantee is told about it. So I don't know where it's coming from. We'll find out. You know, the whole idea of this grant was that it was good for the island, more than actually really good for the housing board. We would be part of it because of these projects. But it's really even the power company has agreed that they need a microgrid capability. So I have no clue what's going on.
Okay, thanks, Chris. You're still up. Number 6 is an update on the website. And I think we
We did it.
got some
Well,
good news today,
Yeah,
right?
Mona did it.
I'm sorry?
Mona did it.
Yes, so we're, well, I don't want to take Chris's thunder, but we are up and running with a PayPal account for the website so that we can accept donations.
Yeah.
Um,
So pretty soon will be, I'll tell Visionary to make it live
Yeah,
at any time now, because that was the last step.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
then you can make an announcement on the bid if you like,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
So I'll just let you know that, I talked to Henry today, and what Mona had to go through was typical. It wasn't weird or anything like that. And then with you and I being involved, the problem for the board was that PayPal needed personal information. You just can't be sending money to something without knowing who's behind it. And that is extremely reasonable. So once that was acknowledged and addressed, everything went fine. So,
okay.
all right.
Thank you. Number seven is funding and revenue. The first bullet under there is discuss and act on annual housing board tax solicitation. I think Millie and Keisha had a good idea. Do you want to explain that? Do you want me to explain it or? Okay.
Yeah, so because we've been collecting the data through the short-term rental registration, are hoping that we'll get the approval, if you will, or the go-ahead from the board to send out our solicitation for the housing board to just those who are registered. We've done, the building department has done, and the land use department has done some really good due diligence on sourcing those those and getting them registered. They've done, searching through all of the advertisements, Airbnb, VRBO, the real estate agents. I don't think they didn't have any problems with that. There are about 500 plus. It keeps us from having to send out 1,500 plus, and then constantly try to get that information back from those, and a lot of it from the non-responders. I think another thing that's really is positive about this is that if we send somebody a letter, we know that they're registered. And therefore, there may be room for us to discuss in the future what kind of teeth we may want to use to get them to provide, to comply. we will be able to say in like the second letter, I think the first letter, we did include something about the website. Did you include a statement about the website too? So we have that on that letter. Also, we can, in that second letter, send out something that says, you're receiving this because you are registered. Essentially we can say, we know that you're renting, you need to pay up. So we haven't figured out the wording of that at this point, but that's just a thought.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to implement this new targeted system for sending out our tax solicitation letter. And that Millie and Keisha will draft a letter that will go out to these registered owners.
And sure, second.
Okay.
Second. Okay.
Thank you. Any discussion on that?
Yeah, I just want to say that we have sent the letter out. It went out the last batch went out yesterday in the mail to just those 500. We had the other letters kind of held in abeyance in case that, you guys weren't in favor of this. But
Okay, so the letter, sorry, Sharon, the letter has gone out?
the letter went out yesterday.
Okay. So you talked about draft, what did you mean when you said you hadn't come up with the wording yet?
I'm talking about for like the second letter, the second, we usually send out a second notice for
Got it.
people who haven't responded.
For the
Which we
district.
get a lot of non-responders. And maybe we won't get as many non-responders this time because we'll have a more targeted audience.
So does that mean like Cherry Hill won't get the letter anymore? Is that what we're saying?
That's what that means. Yeah, non-rent,
Well, non-renters receiving that letter often creates confusion. There's a fair amount of people that don't get it and wonder why they're getting this letter. So that will be great to forestall that. Just a question, how long do you think the building department will be able to sustain? Are they going to, on a yearly basis, be reevaluating all of those sites? Because the number of people renting, it's not static, it changes from year to year. And I know myself, the real estate agents are charged with posting the short-term number that your customers have received from the town. And we were all very diligent that first year, but this second year, the number is the same if you re-registered. And so I'm not asking everybody, this year, did you do this? We initially said you need to do it, but I'm not bird dogging that. So how will we make sure that things don't fall through the cracks?
Sure. And we are counting on the land use department to do that. I will also just connect with them again. They have they've taken Karen on for an additional 10 hours a week. And that's really been one of her sole focuses. And she is focused. So my assumption is that, and they're doing their renewal program as well. So if those who have not renewed by actually probably the December 31st are getting, their knock
Okay, so
phone calls.
the building department is reaching out to people that had a number last year and making sure that they have.
Right. Yes. So they are doing their compliance, and I will make sure that they are, year to year doing that kind of compliance with renewals, and also, checking and rechecking those postings that outside of the renewals.
Because it's a very fluid
Sure.
thing.
Yep.
Okay, so do we need to approve this motion? I guess. It sounds like you're already implemented.
We had sent those out, but also knowing that we could also send out the rest of them if you guys weren't on board. But you can go ahead and, yeah, sure, we can make a motion to.
I've already
You've
made
made the
motion.
motion. We've made the motion. Yeah.
Yeah. All right,
Thank-
all in favor of this new approach, the tax solicitation?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No. Thank you.
Before we leave that subject, just one other question. And forgive me because I've lost track. on a yearly basis, we write to our people and expect a signed affidavit back. All of them acknowledging that they are in the affordable housing and following the rules and regulations. Has that been done this year? Okay. Because that really, and again, the follow through on that, because I think we've had, not that I think there's anything going wrong, but people should send their return back in. Um,
Okay, thank you. All right, the next one is discuss requesting an earmark from the Rhode Island Legislature. Chris, do you want to give us your thoughts on putting this on here?
Yes, this came to my attention because of the email list that the state has for, for grant funds that I told you about a few meetings ago. So I have signed up for those and noticed there is an opportunity to request an earmark from the state legislature. We're going to be looking at least a year because that's how long it takes to get this going forward. But my belief and I is that we don't have the funds ever needed to complete our job. So I'm always scrounging around looking for possible funding sources. And an earmark from the legislature for the Block Island Housing Board for something specific, possibly, I think would at least have a chance of being funded, especially since we can educate them on our problems with applying through Rhode Island Housing and how we're never competitive and, we get turned down a lot for because of our special circumstances. The problem, not the problem, the things that need to be done if this were to happen is to figure out how much money should we request. And we have to, I would think, want to gain the support of the town of New Shoreham to support our earmark request. So there's, steps that have to be going forward. So this is just to let you know about this opportunity. And maybe we can, on the last bullet, figure out a way to come back to this committee, this board, and propose a course of action.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So a lot of these things are all, the next several bullets are all sort of related. And it's all about how we can figure out how to get more money. I also had promised in previous meetings to send out a link to figure out how to get on this email list that Chris is on, and I failed to figure it out. So, Chris, can you take on the task of sending to the board exactly how we get on a list so that we know when opportunities come up?
You bet. It was an accident that I did.
Yeah.
I just stumbled across it. So
Okay. I've tried to stumble across it, but I've in fact tried to do it intelligently as well and still haven't been able to. Okay, so that would be great if you could do that. There are grant opportunities out there. In fact, Chris pointed out that there's one that's now due sometime in March. So I know how to look at those, but I just don't know how to get on the list to get that information. So it's something that we might want to discuss at our next meeting, the February meeting, I guess. The deadline is in March. I don't know what the requirements are, but we might want to look at it.
I think it was a CBDG grant, and we'll be hard pressed to get the application squared away if it's in April. It's
Yeah, so
it's a big
in the last
application.
one of the last meetings, we talked about, getting ahead of the curve on this so that we are prepared for the long lead and all the preparation that goes into it. We also discussed that it's better to have the opportunity for grant in hand and determine whether we want it after we understand the strings that are attached to it. So, so we are lacking in money, there's no question. And it would be good to have more sources of funds, provided it still lets us operate the way we want to operate.
One suggestion, looking over the past decades, we've never really fostered a close relationship with Rhode Island Housing. And we've, every once in a while, I think I've gone 3 times and had meetings with whoever's in charge up there. But it might not be bad if the chair or the chair's designee, calls them once a month and just, try to foster a deeper relationship with them and help them to understand more clearly what our needs are. And maybe they will, think about us. But I
Okay.
think that personal approach might
Yeah,
also help.
okay. That's a good idea. Let me think about that and whether I should do that or ask someone else to.
Well, the town has a lobbyist.
And
You
the
know,
lobbyist has
yeah.
friends at Rhode Island Housing. The last meeting we had was through our lobbyist.
Yeah. So this, we can always go back to the town, later there's a town council thing, so
Mm.
maybe we can wrap it all into one meeting with the town council.
There is a town council meeting with the lobbyists next week at the lobbyists and the legislators, our local legislators, at 2:00 on Wednesday.
Wednesday at 2 next week.
What, would there be an opportunity for one of us to speak up at that meeting to ask about?
They'll
this?
have, I imagine that they'll have some, just to be taking comment.
That's the 23rd,
No, the
I think it's
21st.
21st.
Do you think there's a chance that we would aggravate the town council if we were to come to that meeting and make such a request?
I don't think that you would aggravate the council. I think that it might be, I think it's very reasonable to come and have a conversation with them about what kind of affordable housing opportunities there might be in this upcoming. I think they're probably going to, I think I know the answer, but I think it's worth having the conversation. And I know that the council is very supportive of it. I think that I think that would be okay, I guess.
Yeah, so just, I didn't touch on this, but the council did ask for an update on the O'Brien project. And I provided that, was it a week ago yesterday? And I did let them know that we needed more money. I mean, so everyone's aware that money's an issue. Yeah. So I don't want to get off this issue yet. So I'm going to rearrange these bullets a little bit, but I will make a motion to form a subcommittee to take a more in-depth look at how we can increase our revenue and present those recommendations to the board. Chris, do you want to say something about that?
No, thank you. I totally agree, because that's been the 800-pound gorilla forever. We just can't make a material impact when we're only getting $120,000, tax revenue on seasonal rentals. It's extremely unrealistic to think that for anyone on this island to think that we're going to be moving the ball very far. So yeah, I think we need to do something like this.
Okay, so I made a motion. Is there a second? Discussion. So who would like to be part of this if we vote to form it? So Chris, I will as well. Anybody else? Okay. So all in favor of doing this?
Aye.
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 All in favor of the motion, I guess I should say. Any opposed? All right. Thank you on that. So that will cover. So I think we've covered most of these bullets. So Chris, you also wanted to discuss community land trust concept. You want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, this has been going on for a little over a year. This being the news and information about community land trusts and how they can be developed to integrate regular land trusts with I'll say affordable housing. And there's a lot of good examples about community land trusts and how they worked. Now, the town council had said that they would have a meeting with us about this, and it was supposed to happen last fall, and it has not. So I can send you information on Community Land Trust, like the Cliff Notes, and you can see for yourself whether or not you think this has the ability to, again, bring in more revenue. That's the thing. It allocates more money towards affordable housing than we currently get. It would be tapping into the 3% that the land trust currently gets, or the land trust fee would be increased. You know, it can go up to another 2. Right now it's at 3, it can go up to 5, I think. Anyway, some reallocation through a community land trust where affordable housing would receive more funding. The land trust benefited by about $250,000 this past year in an interest from the work that Amy, Mark, and I did on trying to bring in a better deal with Washington Trust. So they've benefited greatly from the housing board work. So they've got more money than they would have had by far because of this. And so again, the idea of morphing into a community land trust makes, to me, sense, at least for discussion.
Okay, so that's probably a good thing for this newly formed subcommittee to take a look at as well, and to bring ideas back to the board for voting once the concept is more well formed.
Also, this meeting on Wednesday that Millie just told us about, if our legislators are going to be there, the Taylor Swift tax, which goes into effect in July, if that moves forward, the funds raised from that all go to the state, supposedly for affordable housing. And personally, I'd like to see the tax repealed, or the floor of it raised considerably, because I think a $1 million floor is crazy. But barring that, if that's all going to fall on deaf ears, I think that making sure that town of New Shoreham gets their fair share of that amount of money is really important. We may not have a snowball's chance in seeing that happen, but I just feel New Shoreham alone will generate some significant dollars there.
Yeah.
And it should come our way if this tax has to be. So anybody who goes to that meeting, I think that's something we could try to.
Yeah, and that item is on the draft agenda.
Yeah, we have spoken to the town council a number of times, lobbying about this.
So who will go to the 21st? Will
I'm
you
gonna-
be
I'm
there?
gonna
Will
be
you
there.
speak
I'll
for
try
us?
to make
Yeah,
it.
okay, thank you. I will not, unfortunately. All right, the last bullet then is the Newport two-tier tax. Chris, I think you asked this to go on. Is this similar to the Massachusetts law, or is it different?
I don't know. It's just it's a tax on seasonal rentals, seasonally occupied homes that are rented, really, just like we were talking about before. So some of the owners try to get around what is considered occupied, and Newport's on it, but it was interesting because it's proven to be slippier than they thought.
So this sounds a bit like related to the
Yeah,
Maybe
Bruce.
I'm
Swift
not
tax.
familiar
Yeah.
with this Newport thing, but yeah, it's.
Yeah, so I thought it was interesting that, we all know we are an island, but we're not. Everyone has this problem, and so the Newport is front and center with it.
Okay, I think we've touched base on everything. Anybody else have anything they want to just bring up? No, it's up to you.
I just wanted, it was more just FYI. It was more FYI about Cherry Hill, not like I want you to act. We did get a letter about our road condition, because our road ends up on the paved part every time it rains. We have had our annual meeting where we talked about it. We did get a quote that will drain our whole budget on one quote to fix the road. I know Joe's talked to Mike Shea and he was gonna try to get some other quotes more local. But we are trying right now. It's just like it, and the letter references more like the rain garden needs to be cleaned out, but it's more the runoff that comes from the top.
Higher up.
And it doesn't even make it to the rain garden, and we literally have like Grand Canyons in the road sometimes, but then we get it like patched, but it doesn't ever last. So it is a problem, but it's more about like trying to fix the runoff more than the rain garden, and that's out of my expertise, but so we're working on it. I just wanted the board to know that. And then we're going 5 years, going into 6 years. And we in our house, and I haven't asked the other renter or the other owners, but we had a slow leak in our upstairs bathroom. And it wasn't like puddling the water, but it went under the tiles. So the tiles all popped up, but it went down the wall. We had to get the wall cut in the dining room, and it went down all the way into the basement. So, you know, I just don't know why. Lewis doesn't know if it froze or what caused the leakage. We did get it. Luckily,
It was a plumbing.
it was a plumbing
issue,
and
not
it came at first, we thought it was the toilet, honestly, but it was the valve behind the toilet. And then it went all the way down the wall. So, and it was so subtle that it wasn't like, we didn't catch it, and it was also over Christmas break. So, luckily, you know, Lewis knows a guy, and we know a tile guy, but we got it resolved fairly, very pretty much inexpensively for now. We might get an insurance adjuster just because there is some damage. I don't know, just I'm new. This is my first time dealing with this, but I just wanted to let you know those two things. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting. All in favor? Aye. Thank you all.
I thought we were going to be here till 6 o'clock.
No,